Hey friends, so I had an incredible download last night that showed me what aliens were and reconciled how they fit into my simulator theory. I wanted to share it with you guys because it was pretty profound for me. It finally put two pieces of this cosmic puzzle together, my simulator theory and aliens, and they fit together beautifully. So you'll notice I say simulator theory and not simulation theory. There's an important distinction. I do this on purpose. The simulation theory has sort of been taken over by materialist scientists that paint this picture that we're either in a ancestral simulation, which is future humans creating a past simulation, or it's aliens or AI or something like that. But anyways, we're like these kind of hopeless, like lifeless NPCs in someone else's simulation. And that's just not what I see. When you study the millions of experiences from astral travelers, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, past life regressions, it paints a totally different picture, a much more beautiful and hopeful picture. That's what I base my simulator theory on. So a simulator is like a simulation, but it's used for the purpose of learning. So think about like surgeons and pilots. They use these flight simulators and surgical simulators to simulate like real life experiences in like dire, crazy situations that they can learn and grow from without actually hurting the original thing. So say you're a pilot, you go into a flight simulator so you can simulate, when an engine goes out or like, landing in a crazy storm or something like that without having to worry about dying or destroying $1 million airplane. So our reality is a simulator for our soul. So our soul can have these experiences and learn and grow and evolve without hurting the original source. So let's get into that real quick. I'll give you a quick rundown of what my simulator theory is, and it'll lead into my kind of epiphany of what aliens are and why we can't prove aliens. It's really fascinating, okay? So in a nutshell, the simulator theory is this. There was God, source creator. It wanted to learn, grow, and evolve. So it created the universe. The universe is this blank canvas of unlimited potentialities. It partitioned itself off, split itself into a bunch of pieces, put them into the universe, had those pieces interact with each other, and then it would feed that data back up to it, and it would learn. But at the beginning, the experiences were shallow. So it created these simulator worlds, right? Like Earth, where these pieces of source consciousness can go into, jump into an avatar, like a human, and have these experiences and feed that data back up. But since it has the memory wipe when it comes in here, and since this avatar dies, everything is life or death. Everything is more dramatic. So the data is richer. You have love and hate, you have anxiety, you have ecstasy, you have, life and death. You have all these things. So it creates this very rich, like experience for the consciousness. Well, to conserve energy, right? Instead of having this partition piece of source consciousness, continuously splinter itself off because there's 8 billion of us. What happens is when the piece of the consciousness comes down into this, simulator, instead of it going back up, all it does is go up to the spirit world, which is like the holding room, and then it just reincarnates, right? It's continuously reincarnating. In other words, it's conserving energy by using the same piece, that same partition piece of source consciousness over and over and over and over again, instead of creating new ones every single time. So what happens, and I don't know if this is by design or if it's just a effect of this, what happens is at first when you enter in, you're kind of deaf, dumb, and blind. You don't really know much about anything. You're just kind of here. You're like, hey, let's see what happens. But after you have incarnation after incarnation, hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times, you develop a very distinct personality. You are now an individual soul. You're an individual consciousness. Whereas before you were just kind of this splintered off partitioned version. Now you are the real deal. So you've kind of become a miniature source creator out of this deal, which I think is the goal. Because when you talk to Robert Monroe, he always talks about how when you're out in the universe and say a soul or a piece of consciousness that's never been to Earth, when it meets a graduate of the Earth life experience, it always says, I want to be that. I will do whatever it takes to go to Earth and become a graduate, right? So it's pretty profound. But in any case, so we are all here on Earth and we're what are called rendering agents, right? So we render the reality around us, okay? So as we see stuff, it renders. So imagine you're playing a video game, your character, and he's walking around. Everything he looks at, the computer renders as he looks at it. If he's not looking at it, why would it render it, right? It's just using computational power that doesn't need to. So to conserve energy, it only renders what the observer's looking at. And we've proven that's what happens here on Earth with humans. through the observer effect and the double slit experiment and these kinds of things. We know that reality is just these probability waves, and whenever it's observed by a conscious observer, like a human, it snaps into a particle and it becomes real. Now, there's 8 billion of us, and we collectively create our reality, okay? So as we're going through life and we're observing everything, it's snapping into place and it becomes real, okay? So we collectively create Earth and the Earth life experience and the Earth consciousness and the human consciousness. All this stuff is created by all of us, you know, human conscious observers. So this simulator, this Earth life simulator, is created by us, okay? It really is a virtual reality, and we are the virtual reality headsets, okay? Now, that explains humans, and it explains Earth, and there's a lot of science that backs this up, a lot of data and millions of testimonials that back all this up. So I'm very committed to this concept. Now, where do aliens come in? Well, what would an alien be? Well, think about it. The universe is vast. And why would Source just create one simulator world, right? Why would it only have Earth with humans? What if it created another simulator world over here that was, you know, had different physics, laws of nature and stuff like that, and it had a different prime being? There was a different VR headset, a different avatar that the consciousnesses were going into and having the reincarnation cycles. Well, that's what we'd call an alien, right? It probably wouldn't look like us. There's different physics and laws of nature in that you know, simulator. So somewhere out there is a different world with different beings that are constructing their world through their conscious observations the same way we are. They're collapsing the wave into a particle the same way we do, and they're collectively creating their world. Okay, cool. Well, maybe they're more advanced than us. They've been doing this longer. Maybe they have the ability to leave their world. Imagine it like this. You're in an arcade and you have Street Fighter and you have Super Mario Brothers. Well, those characters and everything exist within those games, and that's it. What if the Street Fighter character somehow became self-aware, got very advanced, and could jump over into the Super Mario game? The guys in the Super Mario game wouldn't know what the hell he is. They'd be like, why is all of a sudden there a ninja here? Where'd the ninja come from? They also wouldn't have the code and the programming and the context to interact with it and to really do anything with it. So to them, it wouldn't make any sense. They would not be able to reconcile it. They'd have no context. They wouldn't know how to interact with it. And the system itself would probably, you know, delete it or get it out of there as fast as possible. It probably has some sort of a self-correcting mechanism to take care of things like this. So what do we see with aliens? They're always sort of fleeting. You know what I mean? People describe them, they say they're sort of dreamlike. It's almost like they're there and not there. You know, it's like I can touch it one minute and the next minute it's gone, or I can put my hand through it. Or the beings that people see just kind of come out of their closet, or they come out of a tree, or they kind of appear and then they turn and then they kind of disappear, and they're always sort of fuzzy by nature and very fleeting, meaning they're not there for very long. This is what I would expect if there was a different simulator with different conscious agents, you know, rendering agents, rendering it, that somehow kind of hopped into ours. They probably wouldn't be able to stay very long. And there's probably a self-correcting, you know, safety mechanism that would force them out. And maybe even if they did stay too long or overstay their welcome or leave something behind, it would be edited out of our simulator because it would mess with our simulation and it doesn't need to be there. So that's what we see. We see this weird fuzziness. We do see aliens, we see other beings from other places, but it's almost like, so say you're listening to the radio and you're listening to a song and it's on this station, and then you kind of turn it to the next station and you kind of pick up that other song. Well, you can't listen to both songs at once. What do you always get? You get kind of half of one and kind of a half of another one. It's like a fuzzy version of the song and a fuzzy crackly version of this song. You never get both songs crystal clear because you're in between two stations. So it's like when those beings, we'll call them interdimensionals, whatever you want to call them, when they come over here into our simulator, they're on the wrong station and we're on the wrong station. We're not jiving, we're not compatible, right? So they're sort of fuzzy in either element, and we can't really directly interact with them. We can kind of indirectly interact with them. This explains this whole vagueness and this fuzziness of aliens and interdimensionals and extraterrestrials, right? Because they're coming from a different simulator, different frequency, into ours, the same way if like Street Fighter guy jumped into Super Mario game, you know, he'd be out of his element, you know, there would be some sort of self-correcting safety mechanism that would kick him out and then delete it from the minds of Super Mario. So Mario is not like, what the fuck was that? Mario can just get back to jumping on the little mushroom guys and doing his thing, right? It's kind of, all right, you didn't see that, sorry about that, you know, glitch in the matrix kind of a thing. So this was my download. This was my epiphany of how aliens fit into my simulator theory. And I think they're just other simulators out there with other, you know, observers that are rendering their world, and maybe they got advanced and maybe they figured out how to kind of drift away from their simulator, and they drifted into ours, and they're not supposed to be here. And the system kicked them out and deleted the artifacts left behind. Can this explain aliens? Can this explain our like weird history and how things don't add up? I'm starting to think so. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Have a beautiful day.